When winter descends upon Siberia, the world holds its breath. Snow swallows the endless land. Rivers sleep frozen beneath sheets of ice. And the cold carves a vast white world where time itself seems to vanish. In this brutal landscape, beauty cuts just as deep as the cold. The frost shows no mercy, yet it never truly kills what lives here. It reshapes it, strengthens it, forces everything to bend or break. Through frozen forests and silent plains, wolves move with an ancient, practiced grace. Bears stir from the snow, and the Siberian tiger walks forward, steady and unhurried, like a spirit older than the land itself. Welcome to Wild Siberia, home to some of the most fierce and formidable predators on the planet. Before we go any further, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, Wild Earth Discovery, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment telling us where in the world you're watching from. Alright, let's get into it. To the north, permafrost draws a hard line, a wall built from nothing but ice and time. And to the south, the Asian steppe rolls out to the horizon like a kingdom with no end, a place where the mind can wander forever. Siberia is staggering in size, covering nearly 10% of all the land on Earth. A creation so grand, it feels almost impossible. The Siberian ecosystem may well be one of the most majestic and untouched places still left on this Earth. In Siberia, nothing is small. Everything here exists on a scale that humbles you. To the west, beyond the Urals, plains stretch for over 2,000 kilometers, swamps and marshes spreading out like a sea made of land, with no end in sight. Further in, dense forests rise up the size of a continent, where trees stand so old they seem to carry stories no one alive can remember. To the east, in Russia's far corner, great mountain ranges loom. Dozens of active volcanoes standing guard like silent sentinels, watching over this vast kingdom. But come spring, even a land this enormous feels alive and overflowing. Wildlife erupts in every direction. Over 100 species call this place home. Birds sweep across the sky in waves of motion and color. The forests sustain millions of grazing animals, and predators move with an urgency driven by pure abundance. Nature has rarely put on a show quite like this. There's just one catch. It's only October, and the Russian winter has only just begun. For the next 8 months, Siberia strips away every comfort. Temperatures drop to minus 68 degrees Celsius. Snow falls without pause, erasing the line between sky and earth. Rivers lock themselves under thick ice. The whole world disappears beneath a heavy white silence. Even the sun seems to give up, pulling away and leaving Siberia to face itself alone. And yet, what looks like a frozen hell becomes something else entirely in the hands of nature. She takes that white emptiness and fills it with some of the most extraordinary stories life has to offer. Out in the worst of the blizzards, wind tearing through at 100 kilometers per hour, cold locking everything solid, the caribou doesn't flinch. It simply stands and endures. A warrior of the blizzard, built with a will that simply refuses to break. Its thick fur wraps the entire body like armor, nature's own coat, designed for exactly this kind of brutal cold. And the caribou's size works in its favor too. At over 180 kilograms and nearly 2 meters tall, its body holds fat like a reservoir, storing warmth against the long, unforgiving Siberian winter. A quiet secret, built right into the body. But surviving here takes more than good fur and stored fat. Long before the worst of winter arrives, the caribou is already moving, pushing south, ahead of the cold. Staying in the frozen Arctic is not a gamble worth taking. It's closer to a death sentence. So they move, hundreds of kilometers, sometimes in herds of thousands, all heading for safer ground. Once they reach their wintering land, they stay close together, sharing warmth, watching for predators. A bond you can't see, but one that keeps them alive. The cold season brings another change too. The caribou's coat fades to white, blending into the pale northern forests like it was never there at all. The dense Siberian forest gives them cover, breaking the wind, catching the snow before it buries everything. Low dips and hollows in the land become shelters, small pockets of stillness in the middle of the storm. But they can't hide forever. Hunger doesn't wait, so the herds move out into the cold, searching. The choice is simple and brutal. Starve inside, or face the freeze outside. They push through the white landscape, nose to the ground, hunting for grass, moss, whatever the snow hasn't swallowed. Their wide hooves carry them over snow packed 1.5 meters deep, moving with a steadiness that seems almost effortless. One wrong step in this place, and there's no coming back. Those same hooves pull double duty out here. The caribou uses them to dig, driving down through the packed snow in search of anything edible underneath. When you need up to 5 kilograms of food just to get through a single day, every last bite matters. But in conditions like these, random digging is a waste of energy no one can afford. So the caribou doesn't guess. It follows its nose, one of the most remarkable tools it carries. Where every other animal sees nothing but white, the caribou smells what's buried beneath. Fungi, moss, hidden nutrients in a landscape that offers almost nothing. Pure instinct, honed by generations of survival. But that same nose serves another purpose, just as important: staying alive. Because out here, the caribou isn't the only one searching. Hundreds of predators move through these same forests, quietly, patiently, waiting for a moment of carelessness. A caribou close to 200 kilograms is not just a meal. It's a winter's worth of food. The difference between seeing spring and not making it at all. So the caribou stays sharp, always, eyes scanning, ears turning, never fully at rest, because rest here can cost everything. It picks up predators from a distance, and the herd moves before danger gets close. At up to 80 kilometers per hour, those long legs put distance between it and death in seconds. But Siberia doesn't always give you a clean escape. Sometimes you have to stand your ground. The caribou's antlers, stretching up to 1.5 meters, become weapons when they need to be. One clean strike, and the threat backs off. Still, winter is long, and this land shows no mercy. Not everyone in the herd makes it through. Some fall to predators. Some simply can't hold on long enough. The Siberian winter collects its toll. Others make one small mistake, one wrong step, and the snow closes in around them, like quicksand in white. They won't be freed until spring comes, when scavengers arrive to take what the winter left behind. For now, the herd keeps moving, eyes forward, holding on to something. The idea that the frozen steppe will soften again someday, that the forest will warm, that better days are not too far ahead. Not far from the caribou, deep in the forest, something watches. The golden eagle, perched above it all, calm, still, taking in every movement below. It doesn't leave when winter hits. It doesn't follow the others south. It stays, holds its ground in one of the harshest places on Earth, a ruler of frozen skies, unbroken, with a wingspan pushing 2 meters and a body over 4 kilograms. This is not a bird that tucks its wings and retreats when the cold rolls in. It was built for this. Its dense plumage isn't just for warmth, it's engineered, layer upon layer, holding heat against temperatures that would stop most things cold. And it's waterproof too. Snow falls, and it simply sheds off. Day after day, storm after storm. Hunger doesn't take a season off. So neither does the eagle. From high above, it scans the white below, eyes sharp enough to pick out movement. From nearly 3 kilometers away, in a land where the sun barely shows its face, that kind of sight is everything. But even the golden eagle feels winter's grip. Prey thins out, the easy meals disappear. So the eagle adapts, shifts its focus, takes what it can get. Smaller targets now, quicker to catch, still enough to keep going. Rabbits, hares, small rodents moving through the snow below. They do well to stay hidden, because the moment they step into the open, the math changes fast. 1 second moving across the frozen plain, the next, locked in talons dropping from the sky, tens of meters up. A quiet, deadly dance. And it ends only one way. Miles of frozen, empty landscape. And somewhere in all that white a meal. The eagle spots it, locks on, and then it moves, dropping at over 200 kilometers per hour. The ground rushing up fast. The prey rarely gets a chance to react. Talons close in. One precise strike to the back of the neck. Clean. Final. In spring and summer, this bird covers hundreds of kilometers without breaking stride. But winter rewrites the rules. The weather doesn't allow for long flights, so the eagle pulls back, conserves, waits, and Shorter flights mean smaller search areas, and smaller search areas mean hunger. Stretches of it, sitting heavy, waiting to be answered. So the eagle uses those shorter windows wisely. It's not just hunting, it's calculating every move. And when live prey is hard to find, even the eagle adjusts. Scavenging isn't its first choice, but winter doesn't care about preferences. What large predators leave behind becomes a meal worth taking, and the cold itself becomes a provider. What the winter kills, the eagle eats. This is how Siberia works. Some things die, others live off what's left. A brutal, ancient cycle, turning without pause. But make no mistake, the golden eagle doesn't just survive here by luck. The wingspan, the talons, the beak, the vision, everything about it places it at the very top of this food chain. Come spring, there'll be new challenges, nests to defend, rivals to push back. But that's a story for another time. Right now, the only thing that matters is getting through the Russian winter, one day at a time. About 2,000 kilometers north, where the Russian winter has turned even the Arctic Ocean rigid and still. Something enormous breaks the surface, a creature weighing more than 2 tons, hauling itself up from the deep. The walrus, where most animals would want nothing to do with these half-frozen waters. The walrus moves through drifting ice like it owns the place, because for it, this is home. This is freedom. Its ability to handle cold sits at a level few animals on Earth can match. And it's no accident that with all of Siberia to choose from, the walrus picks one of the coldest corners in the north to spend its winter. Keeping warm in this place takes real engineering. Nature answered with blubber, up to 15 centimeters thick, wrapping the body like insulation. At winter's peak, fat makes up nearly a third of the walrus's entire body weight. Whatever the temperature does outside, the walrus stays warm, a quiet miracle of biology. While everything else in Siberia scrambles to find food beneath the ice and snow, the walrus already knows exactly where to go. The Arctic seabed never really empties out. Even in the dead of winter, mollusks, crustaceans, invertebrates, all sitting there waiting, enough to keep an animal this size fed and strong through the long months ahead. But nothing out here comes easy. The seabed doesn't deliver itself. Every single day, the walrus drops 90 meters down into dark, freezing water, feeling its way across the bottom. And to find what's buried down there, it uses its whiskers, hundreds of them, sensitive enough to detect the faintest movement beneath the sediment. Then the tusks go to work, up to a meter long, ivory white, driving into the seabed like tools, prying loose whatever's hidden underneath. Once it finds something, the walrus doesn't waste time. It crushes everything together, shell, flesh, all of it, into something the body can take in instantly. And sometimes the seabed isn't the only option. Seals caught between shifting ice don't stand much of a chance. The walrus moves fast for its size, pinning the seal with its front flippers, and finishing it with those tusks. A serious meal for an animal that needs one. But the tusks aren't only for hunting. Out on the ice, they become something else entirely. Hooks, driving into the ice to haul the body out of the water, pulling up steep frozen terrain that nothing this size should be able to climb. Still, size doesn't guarantee safety. Not here. Orcas hunt walruses, and they're patient about it. Thin ice gives no protection. The orcas know that. With enough force, they flip it, tip the whole platform, send everything into the water, so the walrus has to move. Get to higher ground. Ice thick enough, deep enough, that the orcas simply can't get through. Several meters of solid ice between them and those teeth. That's the only margin of safety out here. And yet, even in all of this, the walrus finds something else entirely. While most of Siberia is locked in pure survival mode, the walrus does something remarkable. It falls in love, right here, in the frozen Arctic air. Mating season begins in the middle of winter. The males find yet another use. For those tusks, this time, to compete. After mating, the female carries her young for up to 16 months. And when the calf finally arrives, it comes in at around 75 kilograms, which, for this species, is considered small. But there's a long road before any of that. For now, the walrus keeps moving through its frozen world, living the only life it knows. The current flows. Time keeps turning. The walrus carries impressive tusks, But the most dangerous bite in all of Siberia belongs to something else entirely, thousands of kilometers to the south, deep inside the dense Russian forests, moving between the trees without a sound, watching from the dark, the Siberian tiger, a predator so perfectly built for this landscape, it seems like the land made it itself, a force of nature, silent, absolute, up to 200 kilograms, over 2 meters long. The Amur tiger is living proof that in Siberia, everything is scaled up, bigger, wilder, more extreme. The largest cat on earth. Full stop. Winter shaped this animal as much as anything else. The cold pushed it to grow, in size, in density, in fur. In the deepest months of winter, the tiger's coat reaches up to 11 centimeters, thick in places, enough to sit in temperatures that would shut down most living things, and feel nothing, and that fur does more than keep it warm. The tones are paler here, stripes less sharp than other big cats found elsewhere in the world. It blends, disappears into the washed-out Siberian landscape like it was never there. So despite the size, despite being one of the largest predators on the planet, the Siberian tiger moves through these forests without a sound, without a trace. Stealth turned into an art form. Winter here is a solitary season for the tiger. It moves alone, covers huge distances, walking the edges of its territory, marking trees, leaving scent, making its presence known without being seen. When two males cross paths, there's no negotiation. Confrontation is just what happens. But with the cold managed and the territory held, one problem still remains. The one that never really goes away. Hunger. Up to 30 kilograms of meat a day. Every day. The Amur tiger doesn't have the luxury of a bad hunt. Being at the top helps. While other predators watch their options shrink in winter, the Siberian tiger's menu stays wide open. Almost anything that moves is a possibility. But given the appetite, large prey come first. Always. Hares, deer, elk, caribou, wild boar. None of them want to be caught in the open near these forests, because 200 kilograms of muscle moving at full speed through the trees gives almost nothing time to react. But the tiger doesn't chase if it doesn't have to. It waits, hidden, still, and then it comes out of nowhere, straight for the neck. One bite designed to end it. First it finds them, nose and eyes working together, reading the air, reading the light. When a caribou herd moves nearby, the tiger drops low and starts closing the gap, inch by inch. Then it waits again, hidden inside the tree line, watching. And when the moment arrives, it covers up to 5 meters in a single leap, landing directly on the target. One bite to the neck. Done. If somehow the first strike misses, the tiger shifts gears immediately. Music full chase. And it almost always ends the same way. Those paws, massive, powerful, drive it forward at up to 80 kilometers per hour, across loose snow, uneven ground, through everything the landscape throws at it. And it's not just the herbivores who need to worry. The tiger's position here sits above everything. Every predator in these forests, no matter how feared, becomes potential prey when the tiger is hungry. Black bears, lynx, wolf packs, all of them can end up on the menu of the one animal that answers to nothing in these forests. Its size carries it through the worst of it. But the worst is almost over. After months of snow that never stopped, frozen rivers and hollow forests, spring begins to show itself at the edges. And with it, Siberia stirs. Life pushes back up through every crack in the white. For the Amur tiger, spring means full plates and something else entirely. Mating season. The males step out of the shadows, ready to be seen, ready to compete. What Siberian spring brings is hard to put into words. It may be one of the greatest wildlife events on the entire planet. After months of darkness and cold that press down on everything, Siberia wakes up, slowly at first, like something enormous, unfolding itself after a very long sleep. Piece by piece, things return to what the rest of the world might call normal. But here, after 9 months of winter, normal is extraordinary. Temperatures climb, the snow pulls back, and underneath, green, deep, urgent, alive, pushing through like it's been waiting. The rivers find their voice again, water moving freely after months locked under ice. The first sunlight catches the tree line and turns it gold. And those who left, they start coming back. birds return in numbers that fill the sky, their calls layered over each other, echoing through the forest, announcing that something has shifted, that the season has turned. What was barely holding on just weeks ago becomes something that looks, against all odds, like paradise. Life everywhere, in every direction, but only those who stayed through the winter, who felt every degree of it, really understand what this moment means. At the edge of the boreal forest, where the trees give way to open steppe, one of those survivors steps into the light. The black grouse, its tail shaped like a lyre, curved outward at both ends, gives it its name. And that plumage, deep black, shot through with a blue that seems almost unreal. Proof that Siberian wildlife doesn't just survive. Sometimes it arrives looking like this, a dancer of the steppe. By spring, the black grouse has grown something new above its eyes. A bold red crest, bright against all that black. It will need it. At first glance, nothing about the black grouse suggests it belongs here. Barely 60 centimeters, under 2 kilograms. But looks are deceiving. This bird carries more than it shows. Layered under those feathers, a set of adaptations built precisely for months of Russian winter. And it worked. Spring is proof of that. For months it sat high in the trees with the others, eating nothing but conifer needles, waiting. Now the wait is over. The snow retreats and the steppe opens up. Hundreds of kilometers of green, laid out like a table after a very long fast. Everything winter took away, spring puts back at once. The black grouse doesn't waste a moment of it. Berries, sprouts, stems, shrubs. The diet opens up completely. No long migrations. No thousands of kilometers traveled and returned. The black grouse never left. It knows a patch of 10 to 20 square kilometers and knows it well. And right now, that small corner of Siberia is giving it everything it needs. No reason to look anywhere else. All day, the black grouse moves through the vegetation, unhurried, methodical, turning over whatever the snow left behind. Then, as the light fades and the steppe grows dark, it lifts into the nearest trees, off the ground, out of reach. That's the advantage of living exactly where forest meets open steppe. Cover in one direction, space in the other. But the black grouse isn't the only one enjoying what spring brought. The predators notice too. More prey, more options. And a 2 kilograms bird moving through open vegetation is hard to overlook. Golden eagles, foxes, wild boar, all of them would take the opportunity. So the black grouse stays alert. Every rustle, every shift in the tree line, worth paying attention to. Nothing suspicious gets ignored, but it won't go quietly. Small as it is, the black grouse is not an easy thing to catch. Anyone who wants it on their menu is going to have to work for it. The moment danger closes in, wings out, low and fast, gone. Short burst, enough to break the pursuit. Predators aside, spring belongs to the black grouse in every other way. The land is full, the days are long, and something else is in the air now. Something the winter made impossible. The urge to find a mate, to keep the line going. The mating ritual of the black grouse is something worth watching. It starts at first light. Males arrive at the lek, open arenas where up to 200 of them gather at once, all competing for the attention of females ready to choose. The display begins. Tails fanned wide, lyre-shaped and proud. And then the sound low, rolling calls layered into something almost musical. A chorus built entirely from desire. When it works, when the female chooses, that's where the male's involvement ends. She flies off alone to find a place to nest. A hollow in the ground, dense vegetation above, or the base of a tree for cover. She builds it herself. Branches, grass, leaves. Everything gathered and arranged without any help. 6 to 11 eggs laid. Then the wait. 25 days of incubation. Keeping the eggs warm. Keeping the raptors away. Always watching. And when the chicks finally break through, the work doesn't slow down. It shifts. Now she's raising them, teaching them. By 2 weeks old, the chicks are already making short flights, following her through the vegetation, learning what to look for. And the first lesson, maybe the most important one, is to make the most of spring. Because Siberia won't always be this kind. Out beyond the steppe, deeper into the forest, something cuts through the silence. A howl, then more. The pack is moving. Spring has filled the forest with prey, and the wolves feel it. That restless, almost electric energy that comes with abundance. The long winter is already fading from memory. The thick coats are coming off, traded for something lighter, better suited for warmer days and faster chases. At dawn and dusk, the pack moves through the trees, coordinated, driven by a hunger that spring hasn't quite satisfied yet. Up to 15 wolves moving together, each adult needing around 4 kilograms of meat a day. Small prey doesn't make the math work, so the pack aims higher, something that justifies the effort, something that feeds everyone. Deer, elk, wild boar, musk oxen. Spring has brought all of them back, and the wolves know it. Hares, pikas, the occasional black grouse, possible, but not the priority. What makes wolves dangerous isn't just strength. It's the thinking behind the hunt. Finding prey in a forest this size starts with the nose. The moment a scent registers, faint, distant, doesn't matter. The pack locks onto it, follows it, closes the gap quietly. In the dark, their vision holds. Night hunts run just as smoothly, and depending on the prey, the terrain, the position of the pack, the strategy shifts. They read the situation and adjust. When the cover allows it, they spread out, surround from multiple sides, then hit all at once. Surprise is everything here. Every wolf has to move without a sound. One mistake, one snapped twig, and the prey is gone. A caribou facing a single gray wolf is already in trouble. Facing the whole pack is something closer to hopeless. The other option, run them down. Take turns pressing the chase. Kilometer after kilometer, nothing stopping them. Rotating in and out, keeping the pressure constant. Eventually the prey slows, then stops. One wolf closes in first, delivers the strike, and within minutes, the rest arrive. The feast begins, but for all their precision, wolves won't pass on an easy opportunity. A sick animal, an injured one struggling at the edge of the herd. The pack reads it immediately. No hesitation. They move straight for it. Nature's version of mercy, delivered efficiently. And spring brings one more gift. As the snow melts, it gives back what winter buried. Bodies, preserved under the cold for months. Siberia's temperatures kept them intact, frozen so thoroughly that when they surface, they're essentially fresh. The pack takes what it finds. Nothing wasted. What holds all of this together? What makes the pack work in a place this unforgiving? Is structure. Every wolf knows where it stands. Every wolf knows its role. The alpha male leads. He decides when to hunt, where to rest, how to move. Below him, the beta, waiting, watching, ready to step up when the time comes. Then the rest, mid-rank, lower rank, younger wolves, newly joined members. Everyone below the alpha knows what the alpha has, and some of them want it. It's a position worth challenging. When a male makes his move, he doesn't hide it. Posture, growl, and if words aren't enough, teeth. Though some never have to fight for it at all. Born to the right father, the rank passes down. Inherited, no contest needed. But the position comes with more than just privilege. It comes with the weight of the pack. Every decision, every winter, every failed hunt, that's on the leader. For now, with summer settling over Siberia, the pack moves through abundance. Full stomachs, easy days. But the real test of leadership isn't far off. Winter will come back. It always does. And when it does, it won't knock gently. The wolves have their pack, their forest, their structure. But further south, something else moves through Siberia alone. High up, where the air thins and the rock takes over. No forest, no herd, just an arid, wind-scoured landscape that most animals never see. Around 3,000 meters above sea level, the snow leopard, the ghost of the mountain, up to 55 kilograms, 1.5 meters long, and wrapped in a coat of pale gray that makes it vanish against the rocky slopes like it was painted there. Stone and shadow, barely visible, always watching. Siberia may be one of the only places on Earth vast enough to hold this animal properly. A single male can claim a territory of up to 1,000 square kilometers. All of it his, all of it silent. Wide paws for moving across snow and loose rock. Small ears to hold heat. Dense fur from nose to tail. Everything about the snow leopard was shaped by cold and altitude. built for conditions that would stop most things in their tracks. But right now, the deep cold has stepped back. Summer has arrived, across most of Siberia at least. Up here it's different. The snow leopard climbs higher to stay in its element, where low temperatures aren't a threat to survive. They're just the background, the permanent condition of life up here. The isolation suits the snow leopard, but it comes at a cost. Prey is scarce at this altitude. Deer, caribou, elk. None of them venture up to these bare, windswept slopes, where barely anything grows, and where something fierce already lives. So the snow leopard works with what's here. The animals bold enough, or unfortunate enough, to share this altitude. Siberian ibex, musk deer, mountain goats, marmots, far from the easy abundance of the lowlands. Every hunt has to count. Every approach has to be right. A missed strike isn't just disappointing, it's expensive. Energy spent, stomach empty. Try again. The gray coat earns its keep year-round up here. Even when the snow is thin, the rock does the rest, and the snow leopard disappears into it. Out on these slopes, stealth isn't one tool among many. It's the only one that matters. Once it picks a target, the approach begins. Slow, deliberate, every step placed carefully. No sound, no rush. High ground is preferred, looking down, reading the movement below. It watches, waits for the right moment to open up. Then it moves, launching up to 15 meters through the air in a single bound, landing directly on the prey before it registers what's happening. One bite to the neck, clean, certain. The ambush is the first choice, but not the only one. If the prey moves before the leap, the snow leopard shifts instantly. Full pursuit, up and down steep terrain, nothing slowing it down. Those paws that make 15-meter leaps possible also drive it forward, at up to 88 kilometers per hour across broken mountain ground. Whatever head start the prey has, it won't be enough. And sometimes the mountain provides without a chase at all. Up here, the cold is so constant that nothing decomposes. An animal that slipped on an icy ledge weeks ago is still perfectly preserved when the snow leopard finds it. A full meal. No effort required. Fed and settled. The snow leopard turns its attention to the other thing that matters up here. Its territory, and anyone foolish enough to cross into it. This animal does not share space. When another shows up, the welcome is anything but warm. Most of the time, it starts with warnings, vocalizations, posture, a clear signal to turn back. A roar would carry further, but the snow leopard can't produce one. The vocal cords simply aren't built for it, so it uses what it has. And most of the time, that's enough. The intruder reads the room and retreats. With a territory this vast, all of Siberia stretching out in every direction, there's no logical reason to fight to the death over borders. But logic has limits. A female in season, a rival pushing hard for new ground and not hiding it. When those situations arise, the mountain keeps the secret. Whatever happens up there, only the peaks witness it. Thousands of kilometers east, where the Urals are long gone and the landscape softens, the summer water sits calm and clear, and moving across its surface, something entirely unexpected. The mandarin duck. Siberia holds walruses, Amur tigers, animals built on a scale that's hard to believe. And then this, 450 grams, a wingspan barely reaching 75 centimeters. The mandarin duck, one of the smallest water birds in the world, and somehow just as remarkable as everything else here. A bright, living thing on quiet river water. It represents something different about Siberian wildlife. Not scale, not power, just pure, almost unreal beauty. That small red beak, the bold white crescent curving above each eye. Colors so vivid, so layered. It looks like something that belongs in a tropical rainforest, somewhere nature runs completely unchecked. In its imagination, not here. And yet here it is. Chest alone, purple and white layered together, red flanks, orange feathers fanning out. Nothing else in Siberia looks quite like it. The female, though, she drew a different card. Gray and lilac, soft and understated, beautiful in its own way, but so different from the male that's side by side. They barely look like the same species. The problem with looking like that out here is that everyone notices, and not everyone is admiring. Some are calculating, The mandarin duck can't afford to drift through the water distracted. Not in a place like this. Owls, coyotes, martins, none of them care how beautiful it is. They care how it tastes. Under half a kilogram, moving through one of the most predator-dense ecosystems on Earth. The mandarin duck has no illusions about its chances in a straight fight, so it doesn't fight. Nature gave it color. It gave other things claws. The moment something feels off, the mandarin duck is already moving. No hesitation. Across the water at speed, or straight up into the air. The boreal forest closes around it, dense enough to disappear into, safe enough to breathe. With that handled, it gets back to what matters most, eating. And this bird is surprisingly good at adapting its diet to whatever's available. That flexibility is a big part of why it survives here at all. In autumn and winter, acorns, grains, whatever the cold leaves accessible. In spring and summer, the menu opens up completely. Worms, insects, fish, frogs, mollusks, anything within reach of that red beak gets considered. But looking like this means keeping a schedule. Out early, forage fast, then pull back into the trees and dense cover before the day gets dangerous. The one moment the male stops hiding is breeding season. He leans in, performs, commits, at least for now, swears everything, gets what he came for. The female ends up with 9 to 12 eggs, and a strategy. Some of those eggs quietly disappear into other females' nests. Other birds incubate them, raise them, never knowing. It works. It's not widely appreciated, but it works. Fewer mouths to feed, more energy for the ones she keeps. She builds her own nest near the water, up in a tree, safe as she can make it. Some males stay, guard the nest, hold up their end. But this one, music, as the eggs near hatching, as the responsibility becomes real, he's gone. Just like that. The pressure of what's coming turns out to be more than he signed up for. So she does it alone. All of it. Raising the family, teaching them, keeping them close, while the leaves outside start letting go of the branches. Autumn is arriving, and with it, the cold begins its return. Something shifts in Siberia when autumn comes. The temperature drops just slightly, and that's enough. Most animals try to hold onto the last of the warmth. But one animal doesn't wait, doesn't linger. The Siberian chipmunk is already moving. The moment it feels that first dip in temperature, it reads it for exactly what it is. A warning. And it gets to work. 150 grams. Music small enough to fit in a palm. But what it understands, that preparation is everything, is worth more than size. First order of business, shelter. Because for something this small, a winter spent outside isn't an adventure. It's a death sentence. The forest has no shortage of trees, but the chipmunk isn't interested in trees. It goes underground. Those small claws drive into the earth without hesitation, digging with a focus that doesn't stop until the job is done. And what gets built down there is more than a hole to hide in. Up to 3 meters long, 2 meters deep. Storage rooms, waste chambers, a proper sleeping nest at the center, a home, built by something that weighs less than a coffee cup. Of course, something this well-constructed attracts attention, and the chipmunk knows it. Nobody gets a tour. Anyone who gets too close gets a very clear message to back off. Set marks the boundary. Cheek glands, urine, a clear message written in a language every chipmunk understands. They can live near each other, but each one holds its own ground, which means each one digs its own retreat. No sharing, no shortcuts. And despite the size, the claims are anything but modest. This is Siberia. Even the chipmunk seems to understand that. A single individual can hold up to 3,000 square meters as its personal territory and defend every inch of it. How sorted. Now the other problem, food. The chipmunk knows what's coming. It's lived through it before. When winter arrives, everything disappears. Every last source of food gone. So in autumn it eats. Constantly. Deliberately. Building fat reserves, setting aside any concern for how it looks doing it. But fat alone won't carry it through 8 months of winter. So it builds a stockpile. Seeds, nuts, carried back to the burrow trip by trip. Cheeks packed, moving fast, doing it again. Every small piece counts. The pantry grows slowly, but it grows, with shelter ready and enough food stored. the chipmunk allows itself to slow down. The last days of autumn, a brief window to simply exist. Maybe even find some company for the long months underground. Mating season is still ahead, but winter is better with someone next to you. And then the burrow closes around it. Warm, stocked, quiet, all that preparation paying off in stillness. As long as the math holds, as long as the food lasts, as long as the winter does, the chipmunk sees sunlight for the last time in a long while. And outside, the truce ends. Siberian winter returns, sweeping back over everything. And what was alive and green just weeks ago goes quiet again. The long sleep begins. But not everyone dreads it. Up north, where the water is slowly locking over again, something enormous stirs. 3 meters tall, 700 kilograms. The polar bear watches its kingdom come back to life. For this animal, winter returning feels like a gift. The northern coast freezes over. Thousands of kilometers of ice, reforming, thickening, spreading, and the polar bear moves onto it. After a summer that offered almost nothing, winter will make up for it. The moment the first thin layer of ice holds, the bear doesn't wait. It heads north, into temperatures dropping to minus 60 degrees Celsius, walking like it's a mild afternoon. Beneath all that white fur sits a deep layer of fat, insulation that no weather can get through. While the rest of Siberia reads winter as scarcity, the polar bear reads it as the start of the season. It's season, and it gets straight to work. The target, ringed seals. Moving out across the ice, the bear locks in. Patient, focused, hungry in a way that demands satisfaction. Seals are fast. The conditions are brutal. None of that changes the outcome much, because the polar bear has its methods. It finds the breathing holes, small gaps in the ice where seals surface for air. And it waits. Still, silent, absolutely committed. The seal comes up, doesn't see what's above it, and then it does. 3 meters of bear, right there. Very hungry. Or the bear positions itself at the ice edge, watching the water below, waiting for a seal to surface. Patience runs out, or the opportunity presents itself. And if needed, the bear goes into water that would stop most animals instantly. The polar bear barely notices. Those paws, built for ice, work just as well in the water. The polar bear swims the way other animals run, up to 90 kilometers without stopping, if that's what it takes to eat. And seals aren't the only thing on the menu. Up to 40 kilograms of food a day. That appetite reaches wide. Seabirds, fish, shellfish, even walruses, colossal as they are, have been known to end up on the polar bear's menu. When two males cross paths out here, the ice itself seems to tense. Peace is rarely what happens next. Territory, food, and in spring, a female worth fighting for. The reasons change. The outcome is usually the same. Even the polar bear has its limits. When a blizzard comes in hard, and the conditions cross a line even this animal respects, it digs in. A simple hollow, barely a den. Sometimes it stays there for days, waiting the storm out. But bad weather means something very different to a polar bear. With hundreds of seals moving across the ice, staying home too long is its own kind of loss. Winter is finite. Every day in it counts. The bear knows this. It knows winter won't last. And when the ice begins to go, when spring pushes back in, what comes next for the polar bear isn't celebration. It's starvation, waiting, watching its world shrink. Most of Siberia counts down to the end of winter. The polar bear dreads it, and lately, that dread arrives earlier every year. The ice forms later, melts sooner, the window tightens, and the bear stands on what's left, not knowing when it will come back. But the shrinking ice isn't the only thing closing in. The water itself is changing. Oil extraction, gas operations, mining, hundreds of tons of waste entering the Arctic ecosystem every year, stripping the marine life the bear depends on, and pushing it further from the only home it's ever known. And then there's poaching. Around 200 polar bears killed every year. With roughly 26,000 left, the math is not comfortable reading. For species already under pressure from every direction, every number matters. For hundreds of years, they were hunted without limit. Meat, fat, fur, all of it commercialized, until the population collapsed to the edge. The recovery since then has been real. Hard-won and fragile, but real. The polar bear isn't alone in this. Across the natural world, the story keeps repeating. The hawksbill turtle, hunted for its meat, stripped of its shell, for decoration. Numbers in freefall. Clownfish, small, iconic, overlooked, caught in the crossfire of warming waters. The anemones they depend on are bleaching out, coral following, the habitat dissolving underneath them. Even the apex predators of the ocean aren't untouched. Orcas, cetaceans, thousands dying every year. Not hunted, but caught. Industrial fishing nets close around them and don't let go. Accidental, avoidable, ongoing. Hundreds of thousands of species, carrying the weight of choices they had no part in making. Overfishing, plastic, oil spills, water warming. The list is long and the damage is real. But it's not too late. That's the part worth holding on to. Better management, actual policy, limits on what gets dumped, and where. These things work when they're applied. Species pull back from the edge. Ecosystems recover. The capacity is there. If any of these stories stayed with you, drop a like, leave a. Tell us which animal stopped you in your tracks. Siberia has never made anything easy. For tens of thousands of years, it has pressed down on everything that tries to live here. Cold, dark, relentless. And in that pressure, nature built something extraordinary. The tiger, the wolf, the polar bear, each one shaped by the same brutal hand, each one a masterpiece of endurance. But today, the thing threatening Siberia isn't the winter. It's what's happening to the winter itself. The climate is shifting, faster music than at any point in recorded history. Arctic sea ice disappearing at a rate that has no modern precedent. For the polar bear, every piece of ice that goes isn't just lost ground. It's a hunting platform gone, a resting place gone, a place to raise young gone, the foundation of its entire existence, piece by piece, dissolving. And as winters shorten and grow unpredictable, even the most perfectly built predator starts to lose its footing. And it's not just the bear. The whole ecosystem is shifting, quietly but deeply. Thaws arriving too early, breaking the caribou's migration timing. Tiger forests drying out, more vulnerable to fire as temperatures climb. 1 hour and 26 minutes. Eagles, wolves, herbivores, all of them adjusting to a rhythm that keeps changing under them. Faster, less stable, less forgiving, which makes Siberia something else now too. A living record of what climate change actually looks like on the ground. What happens here isn't a regional story. It's an early signal for the rest of the planet. But science is also showing us what's possible. Conservation programs, protected reserves, sustainable forestry, strategies that let development happen without leaving destruction behind. When ecosystems get the chance to recover, they do, more completely than most people expect. Siberia, as hard as it is, as cold, as uncompromising, is still here, still producing life against every odd. It just needs the space to keep doing it. Understanding these animals isn't just fascinating, it's necessary. Every story understood is a reason to protect what makes it possible. A small step, but steps are how the distance gets covered, towards something where nature and humanity aren't pulling against each other, but moving together. Because Siberia isn't just ice and predators. It's proof of what life does when it's given room. It finds a way. It always does. If you want to stay with us for what comes next, subscribe. Hit the bell, and you won't miss a thing. And if this moved you, share it. Let more people see what's out here. We'll see you in the next one. More stories, more wild places, more animals that remind you why any of this matters.